Said that I realized also that as I was growing up, that my ambition, and because of my parents that showed me they believed in me, they encouraged me to just do the best I can, no matter what. So when I applied for a high school in New York that was specific just on art, they denied me. They saw my portfolio and said, "You're not accepted to the school." Meanwhile, I had other friends that kind of were into the art thing and they were accepted. I was kind of upset and disappointed, but I turned that energy around into inspiring me not to not believe, but to believe that they just don't understand this level, or, because
the subjectivity wasn't in their wheelhouse maybe, and then today that same portfolio might be the bomb.
So as I grew up in my career and I started adapting more, and after I finished high school, a regular high school, I tried to go to art college, and at that point, my parents didn't have the money to put me through the school. So I remember my dad was saying, you're gonna have to get some type of scholarship or sponsorship. And I said, all right, Dad, I'm gonna show them what I have, and I'm gonna get this. And I never forget, I went to this organization that gives these scholarships, and I remember she looked at my book, and it was real fast. I think one page she paused for maybe 1.5 seconds and then kept going. And she was like, "I'm sorry, there's no jobs in this field, and I'm not gonna approve for you to get this grant to go to this school." And I'm like, "But miss, maybe there's one, and I'm gonna try my best to get this job, And at the time, because my portfolio was kind of a little bit of graffiti and characters and stuff like that, she didn't understand, because the terminology back then is graffiti doesn't pay.
Wasn't mainstream yet.
It wasn't at all.
Museum hanging.
No, it wasn't at all. There was no
multi-million-dollar price tag.
No, it was still considered a crime, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but to me, it was not. It was my life. It's what I've done.
So she turned you down?
She turned me down. So I went back to my dad and I said, "Dad, they didn't accept me." And I didn't know what he was going to say, but the next thing he said is the point that turned my life. He goes, "Well, you know what this means, right?" And I said, "What, Dad?" He goes, "You're going to have to work harder, study harder, do better than the guy that graduates. You're going to have to." And I was like, wow.
On your own, without a curriculum.
But him saying that to me, it was like he believed in me. There was no like, "Well, you're gonna have to do something else then, son." No, it wasn't none of that. He said, he just made me see that I can continue to believe in myself, that he believed in me. And I must say that did more for me than probably going to the 4 years of school, to be honest. Because for those next 4 years, I just went relentlessly on studying and studying. My friends were hanging out, and I would see them and, "Hey, what's up, fellas?" But then I'd go back up to doing what I had to do.
Are you studying the masters? Are you studying what you like? What are you studying?
I was studying how to make whatever, like one of the issues that I had growing up was people would be like, "Wow, that's amazing." But it was never what I had in my mind. In my mind, it was more amazing. So,
and have you always drawn with two hands at this point? Are you
no,
amazing?
Not then. I was
okay.
still doing. I'm a left-handed artist, so I was still just with the left hand.
Okay.
And but it wasn't. I was doing stuff that people were loving and accepting and showing their appreciation to it. But to me, I was still in that stage where it wasn't what I saw. I saw it a little better. I saw it different. I saw it, in a way that it had more life to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would learn on how to achieve that, not knowing, like, I would go whether the books to libraries to art stores and try to find these other books and like airbrush books and how they achieve these looks, And while I was going and doing that, I got a job as a messenger and running through the streets of New York and delivering
Give me the
packages.
timeline. So,
okay.
80, 84, 85?
I would say 87,
9?
88.
Okay.
Now I'm a messenger,
But you got a portfolio, you're
got a portfolio.
crafting, and
Right.
you're riding the wild streets of New York where you could have gotten killed probably.
Right, but I was by foot too. It wasn't a bike messenger.
You were walking. Oh,
yeah.
my bad.
Back then it was no emails like it is now,
Right.
So even a little letter had to go across the street. I
Absolutely.
was the one taking it. But my feet were killing me after a while of doing that. I went to my boss. She was so cool. And I'm like, "Look, I can't walk anymore. My corns are killing me,
My corns are aching.
Yeah. So she goes, "You know what, Steve? I'm going to put you in the mailroom, and one of our other branches. It happens to be a mailroom at the Viacom building.
Oh no.
When now in the
Oh,
Viacom
no.
building.
Now you're in the nest.
Yes, now I'm in the Viacom building without even knowing, but I'm pushing a car that's nice and warm inside.
1515 Broadway. If
That's correct. That's correct. So I was on the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd floor. I forget which ones, but I think 23rd was MTV, 22nd was VH1,
and in its heyday,
something like that.
it is on fire.
Yeah.
And you're in the mailroom,
And I'm pushing
soaking it all in,
Yeah.
watching,
Yeah.
checking
and
it
I'm
out.
pushing my cart. I'm like, I was mostly in the Beavis and Butthead floor when they were doing back when they were putting things on fire and stuff, and kids were following them. But I'm there just delivering packages, and I got friendly with the receptionist, and I was like, well, I'm an artist, and I would love to show you my work one day. She said, yeah, bring it in. So one day I did, and it was about a week later, and I did, and I had it on the bottom of my carriage. I pulled it out, and I'm like, oh, here, when you get a chance, let me know what you think. And I went on to do my deliveries, and when I came back, she's like, are you in the mailroom? And I was like, yeah, I did.
Not anymore.
And she goes, do you mind meeting someone? And she picked up the phone and she called Steve Thomas from Nickelodeon. If he ever sees this, I would love for him to get in touch with me so I can thank him, because he was one of the first to...
Steve Thomas.
Yeah, Steve Thomas with Nickelodeon, Nick at Night it was. And they had a brochure pamphlet that they needed characters in it, and for diversity, for that month, it was Diversity Month with the organization.
And this again is in its heyday. Now graffiti is more part of the culture, and the whole street art and self-taught art is part of the culture.
Yeah.
And here they find, it's like a Cinderella story. So you meet Steve, and then what happens?
So then Steve is like, hey, you're in the mailroom? I was saying, yeah.
He hands you a job. He says,
you
"This
need
is
a
what
job?
you-"
Yeah. Come see me tomorrow morning, and that was the beginning of my break. And I remember going back out to the hallway, grabbing the cart and putting my portfolio in there, and I'm crying my eyes out, and
Trying to figure out who you want to tell first.
Yeah. Well, the first
Mom,
thing I
Dad,
did, I told my boss, I said, hey, they want to see me tomorrow.
On the 23rd floor in the office, not delivering mail.
And that's how my career actually started. With that, now I had some work with a professional, Nickelodeon, and I still have that piece. I can't wait to show you that piece. That's my very first.
We're going to put that up in a montage somehow when we just.
So
that's wonderful.
Then there was an opportunity with Warner Brothers, and doing a licensing. There was a Warner Brothers licensing company doing product with their characters. And when I went in there, I remember there was like 5 other guys with suits and really, really nice portfolios, and I came in just dressed in jeans.
Just as you are?
Yeah, like
your style?
Yeah, my style, and my smaller portfolio that was full of graffiti, and one.
But now you got the Nick at Night experience. Yeah. You've been there for a spell, right?
Yeah.
So word must have gotten out to get this interview. How did they want to see you? How did that come about?
There was the same receptionist told me, hey, there's also another opportunity over here. And I'm like, wow. Her name was Liz. I hope if she sees this one day, maybe she comes out, and I would like to give her a hug and thank her for it.
Oh my God.
So now I went to the interview with the Warner Brothers, and I got hired. I got hired for it. And I remember as I'm working, and I'm so happy, and I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm doing what I love to do, and it's because I was in charge of doing the Tasmanian Devil, Wile E. Coyote, and Bugs Bunny, but dressed up. So for me, it was like I took the graffiti characters and just put their heads on it almost in a way, and so I kept dressing them in a cool way, and the division that I was with went from 18 million to 80-something million in that year that I was with the company. And then I became the art director. But before that happened, I told my art director, I said, can I ask you a question? Why you pick me? And she said, Steve, everyone in that meeting had the credentials, the right, everything to be hired.
Right.
But you were totally different, and we wanted different.